Kalief Browder was just 16 years old when the criminal justice system swallowed him whole. Born in 1993 in the Bronx, New York, Kalief grew up in a working-class neighborhood where survival often meant navigating poverty, street life, and a constant police presence. He wasn't a hardened criminal. He wasn't a gang leader. He was simply a teenager trying to make it through high school, living with his adoptive family, and dreaming of something better. On May 15, 2010, Kalief was walking home from a party with a friend. It was springtime in New York City. The streets were busy, buzzing with life. For Kalief, it was just another night. He had no idea that within hours, his world would be ripped apart, not because of anything he had done, but because of a broken system that preyed on young black men. As Kalief and his friend walked down Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, a police car pulled up. Officers got out and told them a man had accused them of stealing a backpack weeks earlier. The alleged victim pointed them out on the street, and that was enough for police to act. Kalief was confused. He hadn't stolen anything. He pleaded his innocence, insisting he had been home at the time of the alleged theft. But none of that mattered. He was handcuffed, searched, and thrown into the back of the police car. From that moment, Kalief was trapped in a system designed not to protect him, but to discard him. This was supposed to be a simple case. No evidence linked Kalief to the stolen backpack. No witnesses placed him at the scene. The charges rested entirely on a shaky accusation. But for black teens in America, especially in poor neighborhoods, accusations were often treated as proof. At his arraignment, the judge set bail at $3,000. For many families, that might not sound like much, but for Kalief's family, it was impossible. His mother struggled to make ends meet, raising children in the Bronx on limited income. Coming up with even a fraction of that money was out of the question. Because Kalief couldn't afford bail, he was sent to Rikers Island, one of the most notorious jails in the United States. This was the beginning of Kalief's nightmare, a nightmare that would last over 1,000 days. Rikers Island was not a place for children, but that didn't matter. Kalief, just 16, was thrown into a violent adult jail. He was surrounded by hardened men, gang members, and an environment where brutality was the norm. Kalief quickly became a target. He was beaten by inmates. He was harassed by correctional officers. The violence was relentless. Surveillance footage later revealed him being slammed to the ground, assaulted by guards while others watched. To survive, Kalief sometimes fought back. Other times, he refused. But each act of resistance led to punishment. When he refused to plead guilty to a crime he did not commit, prosecutors retaliated by dragging out his case. Kalief was placed in solitary confinement for nearly 2 years of his 3-year imprisonment. Imagine that, a teenager, still developing emotionally and psychologically, locked in a cell the size of a bathroom for 23 hours a day. No human contact, no education, no fresh air, just isolation, depression, and despair. Experts have long said solitary confinement is torture, especially for minors. For Kalief, it was psychological death by inches. Why was Kalief in jail so long? Because of endless court delays. His case was postponed over and over again more than 30 times. Each time, Kalief was brought into court, shackled at the wrists and ankles, only to hear that the prosecution wasn't ready. Witnesses didn't show. Evidence wasn't presented. Judges granted delay after delay. All the while, prosecutors dangled a plea deal in front of him. Plead guilty, serve a few more months, and go home. Many people in his position would have taken the deal, but Kalief refused. He would not admit to something he hadn't done. That decision, his refusal to confess to a crime he didn't commit, cost him 3 years of his life. Finally, in June 2013, after more than 1,100 days in jail, Kalief Browder's case was dismissed. The prosecution admitted they had no evidence. The alleged victim had gone back to Mexico and could not testify. There was nothing tying Kalief to the alleged crime. Kalief was free, but not really. When Kalief came home at age 20, he was a different person. Prison had scarred him deeply. He struggled with depression, paranoia, and the trauma of solitary confinement. He had missed critical years of his life, Years meant for school, friendships, and first jobs. He tried to move on. He earned his GED, enrolled in community college, and even spoke out publicly about his experiences. His courage inspired others. He became a symbol of resilience and the urgent need for criminal justice reform. But inside, the pain never left. On June 6, 2015, Kalief Browder took his own life. He was just 22 years old. His mother found him hanging in their Bronx home. The news sent shockwaves across the nation. Kalief's story had already gained attention in the media, but his death turned him into a symbol, a young man destroyed not by crime, but by the justice system itself. Kalief's story forced America to confront hard truths about mass incarceration, bail reform, and the treatment of black youth in the justice system. President Barack Obama cited his case when calling for reforms to end the use of solitary confinement for juveniles in federal prisons. Activists and lawmakers began pushing harder for bail reform, recognizing how poverty criminalizes the poor. The public began to question why places like Rikers Island still existed. Kalief's death was not in vain. His story continues to inspire movements for justice. Kalief Browder's case was not unique. Every day in America, thousands of poor defendants, disproportionately black and Latino, sit in jail cells, not because they are guilty, but because they cannot afford bail. The system preys on the vulnerable. It pressures them into guilty pleas. It subjects them to violence, abuse, and trauma. Kalief's story is the most famous, but it is just one of countless tragedies. His life raises questions that haunt us. How many others are lost in the system? Right now, how many have given up and confessed to crimes they didn't commit, just to go home? How many futures are destroyed by a system more interested in convictions than justice? Kalief Browder's name has become a rallying cry. His story was featured in documentaries, books, and countless articles. Rapper Jay-Z produced a docuseries, Time, the Kalief Browder story, bringing his tragedy to millions worldwide. His courage in refusing to plead guilty, holding onto his innocence despite the cost, is remembered as an act of quiet heroism, but his greatest legacy may be the changes his story sparked. Conversations about bail reform, solitary confinement, and racial injustice in policing and courts gained momentum after his death. Kalief's story is a reminder that justice delayed is justice denied. Kalief Browder never should have been arrested. He never should have been held in jail for 3 years without trial. He never should have been placed in solitary confinement. And he never should have lost his life because of a system that failed him at every turn. He was just a boy walking home one night. But because of race, poverty, and a broken justice system, he became a symbol of everything wrong with American criminal justice. Today, when we say his name, Kalief Browder, we remember more than just his tragedy. We remember the urgent need to fight for justice, for reform, and for every young person who deserves a chance to live free.